All right, hey everybody, welcome to Dorm Squad Sports, college sports podcast focusing on Alabama athletics. I'm Dakota here with Oakley. We don't have Brian this week; he's too busy in the mountains. But to replace him, we have my girlfriend, Maddy Gregory. Thanks for joining the episode, Maddy.
Of course.
All right, so we're also doing a top 5 draft Christmas movies. That's the main reason why she's here. But she's also gonna be adding in on the sports talk a little bit. So should be a good episode. Make sure y'all stay tuned for all of it. So first off, we always talk about the last game. The Citadel game, of course, is probably one of the worst first halves in Alabama history, but we were able to pull it out. So are you concerned with that result, Oakley?
I mean, I'm not that concerned because number one is the flex ball. Nobody runs that anymore. And I think I read where it was like 6 or 7 years the last time Bama faced somebody that ran that kind of offense. And obviously it's hard. I mean, you have three different places you can go with the ball on one particular play. And but obviously they got things ironed out at halftime, came out dominant, and honestly I'm not that worried. I'm more concerned about the injuries, how Damian, he suffered that concussion. Deontay Thompson came out of the game, so I just want to see those guys, how they progress health-wise this week.
Yeah, when I saw the Thompson injury, watching it, I watched it on TV, and he was just he looked like he was in so much pain that I was afraid it was a meniscus or an ACL or something. But he was putting weight on the knee, which was a good sign. And I think he'll be fine moving forward, especially, this game doesn't matter as much as it used to. And as long as we have him for the SEC championship game, I'm not really concerned. I think, 2-3 weeks, he'll be 100%.
Yeah, I think I read where he was going to practice either today or tomorrow. So, I mean, that's even better.
Yeah, and of course, Alex Leatherwood also went out of the game. And, of course, that's our right guard and our left guard both out as of right now. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, like we said, SEC championship game is the game where we need to be 100%. I think we'll get there by then.
If you asked me earlier in the season about this game, and all the injuries coming out, I'd be worried. But earlier in the season, but now it feels like it's gonna be one of our easy games. Obviously Auburn's front seven is gonna be pretty good, but I'm not as worried about this game as I have other games throughout the year.
Yeah, and Damian Harris is one of the best players and one of the most liked players and one of the best leaders. But if you had to pick a position to lose a key player, I would probably pick the running back.
I would be definitely running back. I mean, you have Damian, Josh Jacobs, Najee, Brian Robinson can get the job done if we need him to.
Yeah, and Josh Jacobs has just been looking better and better every single week, especially the past 2 or 3. He actually started a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, hopefully he's good. Hopefully we'll have him back. But out of all the injuries, even though that's the most severe, it's the one I'm the least concerned about, in all honesty.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And just hopping around the league, one of the biggest things that came out, of course, doesn't even affect the SEC, but Les Miles taking that Kansas job. I don't get this on either side, honestly. I guess Les Miles just wants to be back in the coaching world. But if I were Kansas, I would try to get someone who ran a triple option, if we're being all honest. Because you have to ask yourself, okay, do I want to get draft prospects? Do I want to get people who are going to, play in the NFL? And do I want to try to contend but probably not be able to because you're Kansas and you're not going to be able to recruit? Or do I want to win a few games and compete for a Big 12 championship every now and then, but always win enough games? And that's what the triple option does. I mean, you look at Georgia Tech, they're never going to be a national contender, but they make it to the ACC championship game every now and then. And they usually win enough games.
Yeah, I mean, the triple options for those teams that, don't have the athletes or the program built up to compete at that high level, like your Alabama, your Georgia, your Clemson. But they're for those below average athletes that the system helps them win games.
Yeah, honestly, Les Miles, it reminds me a lot of the Gruden hire out in Oakland, because you get a guy who hasn't been in the arena for a while. He hasn't, gone through the toughness of a college football season, and he hasn't grown with the game because he hasn't been there to grow with the game. He's just been sitting, watching games on his own, figuring out how he would do it if he was there. But it's going to be really interesting to see if he can, adapt, because obviously John Gruden isn't adapting with Oakland. Maybe Les Miles will be able to adapt with Kansas.
I think that's a fair comparison. It's going to be interesting to see because you're right. He has been out for so long, and especially with it being – if he would have inherited a better program, then it might be a little better, but he inherited Kansas. So that's –
yeah. If I were him, I would have only taken a high-quality job. I wouldn't have settled. But honestly, if you're there for the love of the game and you're missing the game, then go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Another big thing that happened outside of the SEC, Ohio State barely won. And I'm not going to lie, I don't think they're the reason that they won. I think the other team lost it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, the overtime pass, it was just a bullet, and it was just an inaccurate pass. If he would maybe put a little bit off of it, I don't know.
Like, I mean, we were just watching it, and it looked like you could toss it right there.
Exactly.
But he tried to sling it. I guess it was the nerves got to him. But anyway, so that's another game that Ohio State should have lost. But they were able to come out of it with a win. Of course, they're coming into a tough game this week that we're going to pick later. It's going to be hard for them to win that game. Do you think this is the end of the Urban Meyer era in Ohio State?
Oh, man, I honestly don't know. Like, there's just so many things. Like, as of right now, like, it's going downhill, obviously, because you have the thing at the beginning of the season with Zach Smith, and he's out here creating more controversy. Like, he tweeted some stuff about Tom Herman cheating on his wife earlier, like last week or this week. It was crazy.
Okay, let me bring in on that because this is the biggest troll ever. Okay, so Zach Smith sends the screenshots of the text with Tom Herman saying he's going to leak all these things. Tom Herman responds, "Okay, cool, hook 'em." Like, that is, first off, that's a troll in itself. It's like, okay, do whatever you want. I don't care. You know, Roll Tide. Their version of Roll Tide. And at the game, I don't know if you saw this, but Tom Herman's wife at senior day on the field wearing a T-shirt that says, "Okay, cool, hook 'em." So she's literally wearing a shirt of the response to Tom Herman cheating on his wife. He was like, "I caught you cheating." He's like, "All right, cool, hook 'em." And she's wearing that on a shirt in public on senior day. That's just, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, either she really forgave him or she really believes that he didn't do it. That's
exactly.
your options there.
And honestly, like, people aren't going to believe Zach Smith after everything that happened with him.
It's hard to. I mean, it kind of looks like he's gone off the deep end a little bit.
Yeah, and that just proves that we don't need Twitter, honestly. He is ruining his reputation from Twitter. Okay, one more thing, then we're going to get into these Christmas movies. Heisman poll. Do you think Tua's cemented it after that game, or do you think because everyone else is playing so well that it's still up for grabs?
Gun to my head, I'm still picking Tua. Like, I still think he's gonna win the trophy. I think that probably Murray has gotten closed the gap a little bit, but I still think it's Tua's to lose.
Yeah, especially with Tua. I mean, he also has two big games. If he gets wins, like, that's going to be enough to prove, especially as a quarterback, it's all about, like, are you winning or losing? And I think he's going to get two really big wins these next 2-3 weeks. And another thing with the competition is it's just too little too late. I mean, Gardner Minshew, I think he put up like 7 touchdowns or something crazy in that last game. He freaking balled out, whatever the number was. But it doesn't matter at this point because everyone's already put Tua at number 1, and it's so hard to steal that spot until he does something to lose it, because you don't want to give it to someone else over him unless he's playing bad. Like, everyone gave it to Leonard Fournette, and then our defense destroyed Leonard Fournette, and that's what gave Derrick Henry the option.
Right, and I mean, Tua had a great game. I think he had 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. I mean, that's phenomenal for a quarterback, especially after the slow first half.
Yeah, especially almost all the stats came in that second half because we only had 4 drives in the first half. And then you look at like Lamar Jackson when he won it early. He kind of sputtered to an end, and they lost some games, and he didn't have quite the stats. But at that point, so many people gave it to him already that they weren't going to change their vote.
Which honestly is kind of pretty rare because most of the time, Heisman voters, like, what happens in November really decides who gets the trophy. But it seems as though they're already giving it to Tua. They're talking like Murray is closing the gap, but like I don't think he can do it enough in these last 2 games.
I mean, you are going to have West Virginia, which you're going to be able to put up points, but I think they have to have a solid chance to make the playoff to give it to him. Like, if he loses 1, it's done. It's completely out. But if he wins out, I still think that they're going to have a higher respect for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like you said a minute ago, it would take Tua not performing, like having a couple bad games. I think if he puts up 200 passing yards, a couple touchdowns a game, like 2 or 3, then I think he's got it. Like no matter what Murray does.
Yeah, definitely. And another guy that we've all forgotten about, but he deserves a vote for, at least to get in New York, Jonathan Taylor. He is just breaking record after record. He is just, I mean, we don't think about it because Wisconsin's doing so bad, but when you look at his stats, I think he has like 1,800 yards this year. He is just absolutely balling out. But
give a lot of that credit to that offensive line too.
yeah, and like I said, like if Wisconsin was playing for a Big Ten championship, he probably would be in the discussion.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, when your team's bad, especially when you're not a quarterback, people just don't remember. But okay, so now we got top 5 Christmas movies draft. So how it's gonna work is Maddy has the first pick. Oakley and I, we said we were gonna flip a coin. Neither of us grabbed a coin, so we're gonna grab one of those. But Maddy's gonna get the first pick. Oakley and I are going to pick after that. It's not going to be a snake draft, so Maddie's going to have the first pick in every round as a thank you for Maddie for doing this. We're just going to give her the first pick every round. All right, so I'm going to let you call it because I know what you're going to call.
Okay.
You got tails.
Yep. Oops, I dropped it.
Oh,
it is heads.
Tails never fails, right?
Well, if I would have caught it, it would have been tails, but I dropped it.
Okay, so Maddie's going to have first pick, then I'm 2, and Oakley's 3. And hold on one second. Let me go ahead and put these in there as we do them. All right. You're up.
Okay, so my first pick has to be Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, as for some reason, it's one of those movies I can watch over and over again. It never gets old.
Yeah, that's definitely a good pick. One second. All right. So the number 1 on my list was not the number 1 on your list, so I'm going to be able to take it, and it's Elf. Elf, I mean, I don't know if it's like, you know, like critically one of the best ones, but I feel like everyone who, when you say, okay, what Christmas movies are we watching? The first one they always say is Elf. And it's so funny. It might not be like a classic, quote unquote, but it's such like, it's just a feel good movie that you always want to watch.
Oh yeah, Elf is good. That actually wasn't my number 1 pick though. Elf is really good. That's probably going to be on my list, but my number 1 was Home Alone. With Kevin McAllister getting left at home. I love all the traps he sets, which I guess kind of relates to my Saw obsession. But I love the way he booby traps his whole entire house. It's just amazing.
I knew mine wouldn't get picked, so my second pick is Prep and Landing, which is a very underrated movie that not many people know about. It's only been out for about like 5 years, but anytime I watch it, the 30 minutes I spend watching are really enjoyable.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. Kind of lost my big board, so I'm kind of doing this on the fly, but I'm going to take Christmas Vacation as the next one. I'm going to pick all the funny movies. Christmas Vacation, like I said, probably not like a classic in terms of, you know, Happy Christmas Story or anything, but it's one of those that, you know, you can't get upset when you watch it. It's just one of the funniest movies. So I'm going to take Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, that was probably going to be my second one. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the Santa Claus, the one where the real Santa Claus falls off the roof, and then Tim Allen takes his place. That's just an awesome movie, and I love watching that one.
Leading on that, I'm going to take the Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause, as I really love the storyline for that. It's really cute, it has love and Christmas, and it's just really fun.
Okay, like I said, doing this all on the fly. I'm going to, here, this one, I'm not going to lie, I don't really like this movie, but it's one of the better ones. It's going to be Polar Express, and I feel like I would like it more, but literally every single year in elementary school, you watch this movie at my school. I don't know if y'all schools did that, but I saw it at least 3 times any holiday season. Anytime we needed a Christmas movie, I don't know if they just like had it all shared and they just brought it up grade by grade, but ever since that movie came out, Polar Express was always there. So I'm going to take Polar Express.
We watch Polar Express a pretty good bit, like in my house, like on Christmas Eve, so I like the Polar Express too. I'm going to go next with Home Alone 2. All the Home Alone movies are so good.
They really are.
I'm going to have to go back with Prep and Landing and do the second one they did, Naughty vs. Nice. I just love those movies so much. And this one's really cute. It has kids in it, and kids and Christmas are just, they make a movie.
They do. Okay, so I love how 2 of your main ones are not well known, but I mean, we're probably not going to have people vote on this, so I mean.
True. Sometimes the better ones are the more
Yeah,
ones,
sometimes
though.
you just have to draft with your heart, and that's what you're doing right now. So Next, I'm going to take A Christmas Story. That's probably one of the best known Christmas movies. I'm not going to lie, I actually haven't seen it, but no one ever says that they don't like it if they've seen it. It's just whether or not you've seen it. So I'm going to take A Christmas Story.
I've actually never seen A Christmas Story, but I have seen A Christmas Carol. I actually like the Disney one. I can't remember. I think it's Donald that's like Ebenezer Scrooge, and they go through past, present, and future. I don't know. I like that movie.
I do too. I'm going to have to pick a classic. Since we haven't really picked a true one, I'm going to have to go with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Since you can't go wrong with that. It's just a cute movie, and it's been around since we can all remember.
Yeah. Speaking of classics, I think I'm going to take A Charlie Brown Christmas. Of course, that probably has one of the most famous, pictures in all Christmas movies. That dopey tree that everyone has now, especially in college dorms. I feel like a lot of people can't get a real tree, so they try to get a Charlie Brown tree. And my mom was a kindergarten teacher. She loved this movie, so I'm going to pick it for her too.
So my last pick is going to be Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas.
We have one more round.
I was just kidding. I have another round. But then my fourth pick is going to be Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas. I don't know. We used to watch this movie as a family a lot, like in the car riding. And I honestly don't know if I've seen the first one. But we used to watch the second one a lot, and it was really good. So
Going back to classics, I'm going to have to do the cartoon How the Grinch Stole Christmas, since we wouldn't have the current real-life one without this original version.
Yeah, while we're at it, why don't you go ahead and take The Grinch with Benedict Cumberbatch in it while you're at it, too.
Oh, yeah, that was going to be my next pick if we had another round, so...
Okay, I'm going to take one, and of course there's stuff left on my board, It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on 34th Street, but I'm not going to pick any classics. A lot of people don't even call it a Christmas movie. I'm taking Die Hard because it is technically a Christmas movie. They're playing it at the movie theater in Tuscaloosa for a Christmas special. So I'm going to take Die Hard, the most action-packed Christmas movie ever of all time.
that was going to be my pick. But
I knew it.
I'm going to go ahead and pick The Santa Claus 2. Because all those movies are so good. They are. I'm
I have
sorry.
to agree
they
with
are.
Oakley on that.
Yeah, low-key surprised you didn't take that too. But I guess there's just not enough picks. So, all right, I'm just going to recap them real quick. We're not going to probably have y'all vote, but just so y'all know, Maddy took How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Prep and Landing, Santa Claus 3, The Second Prep and Landing, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Okay, maybe we did have 6. I don't even know at this point. And then she also took the other Grinch. So, like, 2 Grinches. And then I had Elf, Christmas Vacation, Polar Express, Christmas Story, Charlie Brown Christmas, and Die Hard. So we did have 6 rounds. My bad. And then Oakley had Home Alone, Santa Claus 2, Home Alone 2,
Where's my
Santa
other one?
Claus, Christmas Carol, and Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas.
Carol.
All right. So that being said, we slid in an extra 6 round just for the heck of it. And that's pretty much it for the Christmas part. Now let's get back to football with our Iron Bowl talk. So what do you think we need to see this Iron Bowl?
I think just consistency, just more of the same. Like, honestly, we've been doing so well. I want to see the injured people. I feel like I'm doing the same song and dance every single week because we just look so good on all sides of the ball. And obviously, we want to see the injured players get better. Tua has gotten better, actually. Like, we saw he didn't have the brace on against the Citadel. He looks so much more smooth and more fluid, and it was just a great thing to see. But I'm just going to have to say more of the same. And I'd like to see how our offensive line blocks Auburn's defensive line, especially considering the injuries we have along the front.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add in was the O-line. The O-line's going to be so important in this game because, first off, I think a Tua injury, at least until Jalen's 100%, is just going to absolutely wreck a season. So we have to avoid a Tua injury. And I'm not going to call out Auburn for making a dirty play, but I would never put it past them to try something if they get a chance. So I'm really hoping that they can just keep his jersey clean and keep him from, getting hurt too bad. Another thing that I'd like to see is just the leadership, if Deontay Thompson's not there, to see how people step in. Of course, we already lost Diggs for the year, so our secondary is kind of weak in terms of experience anyways, in depth, and just having another person fit in. I also want to see Savion Smith step up. He had a couple bonehead plays. Of course, it was against a triple option. That's mostly why they happened, but it's going to be a challenge to stop Auburn, whether or not their offense has been good. Just the fact they're in the Iron Bowl, they're going to be playing better. So we need to make sure we stop that. Another thing about this, of course, Dixieland Delight has still been freed miraculously. Do you think this is the last time we ever hear Dixieland Delight?
I gotta think that Greg Byrne knows that this is gonna happen because, like, if you've been listening to the last few at the game, like the students have been saying it in between other parts and not just where people usually say "beat Auburn" quotation marks. So he needs to have a plan if he wants, because he knows that they're gonna say "freak Auburn" throughout the whole thing, because that's what got us in trouble the first time. So I think. And unless he has something, then it probably is going to be the last time.
But you got to think, attendance is going to drop if they stop playing it. That's why people have been going to the games, just to sing along to Dixieland Delight.
Yeah, you're right. And, I mean, it might be cold. So, like, people might leave beforehand. Who knows?
I think I looked. It was like 60-something.
All right, never mind. Yeah, it's gone.
It's going to rain.
Is it going to rain?
Yeah.
Oh, they might. Okay. What I would do if I were him, and I think I even suggested this after the first time we heard it, because, like you said, it's been happening. It's going to be louder this time than ever. If you can just encourage people to say beat Auburn in the breaks, then you're fine. And then you can just blare the beat Auburn because, spoiler alert, if y'all don't pay attention, the student section's not saying beat Auburn in the first place. It's only because they're blaring it, and you can hear it from behind you. And also, they don't say Roll Tide in that other spot. I mean, if you can just put the Auburn at every break and be like, yeah, that's what we're going to say, and we're doing it right. And then you can blare that and pretend that's what we're saying. And then all the drunk fans are going to say F Auburn instead. Because for the Iron Bowl, I was there the last time, the one that got banned. It's not just the student section. For the Iron Bowl, every person is going to be saying it. Especially if they come with an Auburn friend.
Good for recruits, bad for students.
Exactly. But, I mean, we'll just have to see. I hope we find a way to keep it. And maybe we're just going to, turn a blind eye to it. But we're probably going to be done. All right. So, last thing we got is our picks. Of course, I think Oakley is leading in picks. Bryant's a game behind Oakley. And I'm 2 games behind Bryant. So, 3 behind Oakley. So even though Bryant's not here, we had him write in his picks for us, and Maddie's going to pitch in her picks this game too. So first up, this is a battle for a playoff spot if Notre Dame wins, if they're playing USC. Bryant picked Notre Dame, of course, mostly because of Ian Book, but Oakley, who do you got?
Yeah, I took Notre Dame too. I took Notre Dame last week too when you guys took Syracuse, and obviously that was a good pick. So I'm just gonna keep rolling with the Fighting Irish. They looked good. Like they steamrolled Syracuse, and I didn't think they were gonna win, but I thought it was gonna be a close game at least. Obviously it hurt whenever Dungy went out and DeVito had to come in, but DeVito's not a bad quarterback, and they still looked really good against him on both sides of the ball.
I also have to pick Notre Dame. So far, they're undefeated, and they've also faced higher-ranked teams than USC, so this game shouldn't be too much of a challenge for them.
Great pick. Of course, I'm taking Notre Dame. So with Notre Dame, I've really just not used logic, and I'm pretty sure that's why I'm behind because I'm like, oh well, a team lost, and when I picked against them, so I'm gonna pick them, and they're gonna win, and then they lose, and then I'm like, well, this team's gonna play bad because they're wearing ugly uniforms. They're bringing out the traditional uniforms, or at least I hope they are for this game. And I mean, this USC team, like you said, has been struggling, and I think it would be a fireable offense to lose to a 5-win team when a win would guarantee you a playoff spot, especially against your rival. So they're playing for a lot here, and they haven't shown any sign of choking in the big moment the past 5 or 6 weeks. So I think they're going to get it done. Okay. Up next, one of the biggest rivalries, Michigan-Ohio State. Probably going to be a big game in terms of how we get who wins this whole thing with us. And, of course, they're probably playing for a playoff spot, too, assuming that they win the Big Ten. So who y'all got?
Yeah, I have Michigan. It's crazy because towards the beginning of the season, if you had asked me, I would have said Ohio State in a blowout because, in the beginning, Michigan didn't look that good. But they've really just been on a roll, both sides of the ball, dominating people. And Ohio State has looked bad. They almost lost to Maryland bad. And ever since that Purdue game, it feels like. But this whole season has really just been a train wreck for the Buckeyes. So I got the Wolverines in this one.
I have to agree with Oakley and pick Michigan. Like you said, Ohio State's only gone downhill since Purdue. And also, they aren't ranked 4th in the nation for no reason. So they definitely have this game.
Yeah, Michigan definitely does. Brian, of course, picked Michigan too. And since I'm behind, I would love to call my shot here, but we're still going to predict at least some of the bowl games, and I can't fall too far down the hole right now. And I'll just ride that Michigan wave and pick them. Just I can't put my money on Ohio State. Like this, if this matters, I can't put my faith in Ohio State because if a team's going to buckle, it's going to be Ohio State.
For sure.
All right. Up next, the Apple Cup, one of the hardest games to pick every year just because they always just goof in this game. Washington State. Bryant, he picked Washington. He didn't give a reason why, but definitely a debatable pick.
Yeah, I think it's definitely debatable because I have Washington State. I think that behind Gardner Minshew and that offense, then they have this game. I don't know. Jake Browning just has not looked like the Jake Browning we saw a couple of years ago that was contending in the Heisman race. And really, after the Auburn game, like I personally haven't heard a whole lot of anything out of Washington, and I just got to take Washington State because they're rolling right now.
I have to take the Washington Huskies. They're holding the better defense while Washington State holds the better offense. So I think in this game, having the better defense will be more beneficial and will help Washington secure a win.
So glad you did your homework for this. And I'm also glad that you picked Washington. So now I get to say, not so fast, my friend, because I'm picking Washington State. This could completely eliminate the Pac-12 if Washington wins. I think they're already eliminated because I can't think of a scenario where Washington State gets in anyways. But I'm going to take Minshew and the Cougars in, honestly, just a true toss-up game.
I think that, okay, here's my scenario for Washington State to get in. If Ohio State wins barely and West Virginia beats Oklahoma, I think Washington State might get in. I think like that's the best chance, and like everybody else wins out. Like Clemson wins out, Bama wins out, Notre Dame wins out. That's the best chance that you give Washington State to get in the playoff.
I think you're gonna have to have two teams like just crap the bed, and I think Ohio State helps a lot. Now, even if Ohio State barely beats Michigan, they might still lose the Big Ten championship game. In which case, I think the entire Big Ten is out.
Right.
So if they do that, and then I think Oklahoma's the only chance in the Big 12. So if that happens, the entire Big 12 is out, and then you would be left with two SEC teams with a possibility. If the Big 10 messes up and the Big 12 messes up, there's one Pac-12 team, one ACC team, Notre Dame, and for the heck of it, UCF. So that's 6 teams fighting for 4 spots. If Alabama wins out, you take out Georgia, and then it's UCF and Washington State. So speaking of rankings, this is just where I'm going to slide in because I didn't do it earlier. Would you rather be a 2 seed and if you were guaranteed to play Notre Dame?
Yeah, it's definitely. Honestly, I think we're going to play Notre Dame anyway. I think if Michigan wins out, and which I think they will, I think they'll jump Notre Dame just because they've shown so much growth and like so much dominance since then. And Notre Dame's looked good too, but I think not having that conference championship is really going to hurt them when it comes to final seeding. And I think that Michigan would take that jump. And I think we're going to play them anyway, but if we had to move back to play them, I would definitely take that.
Yeah, definitely so. And I mean, I would take Notre Dame right now in a heartbeat. It'd be hard for me to take Michigan in a heartbeat. Like, I think we'd still beat them, but that's going to be a tougher game. And honestly, like I said, I still don't want to see Oklahoma. Like, they've been struggling. They gave up 40 points to Kansas, but I just don't want to see that offense. So I think if I had to, all things considered, if I was guaranteed a game against Notre Dame, I would take it in a heartbeat. Even if it's a 1-4 or a 2-3, I would take it.
Oh, for sure.
So next, probably going to decide the Big 12. Oklahoma versus West Virginia. Bryant, he picked Colin Murray, Oklahoma. Maddy, you can go and take it.
I also picked Oklahoma as West Virginia has just been too inconsistent for me to consider, and with Oklahoma's quarterback being second in the nation, their odds of winning are pretty high, I'd have to say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. This one's kind of a toss-up. It was hard to pick because both defenses are really not that good. Especially considering Oklahoma gave up 40 to Kansas. But I still think I can't bet against Murray and this Oklahoma team, especially with CeeDee Lamb and Marquise Brown. These guys are just going to put up so many points, and I don't know if Will Grier and the Mountaineers can keep up. I got Oklahoma.
Yeah, both teams definitely have a clutch factor here. Of course, West Virginia, I think they beat Texas on, a last-minute drive there. And Oklahoma's just been, nail-biter after nail-biter. And they keep putting up points. And I honestly think that this is going to be one of those games where whoever has the ball last might win. And if you had to ask me Will Greer with the ball or Kyler Murray with the ball, I just have to take Kyler Murray. So I'm going to take Oklahoma winning a close one. Both teams are kind of like on a down spiral. Giving up 40 points to Kansas is something that should never happen for anyone who wants to play for a championship. But I have Oklahoma still win this despite that. Okay, last game, Iron Bowl, Alabama-Auburn. SC Nation's coming in. Going to be a good game. Bryant has Alabama winning 31-13. Maddy, you can go.
I have Alabama winning 55-14, and all I really have to say is that we have Tua. So,
all you need.
It really is all you need. I have Bama too. Auburn has a good front seven, but I don't think they're going to be a whole lot better than the Mississippi State front seven we faced. And man, I don't know. I just can't pull the trigger. Like, obviously, I'm an Alabama fan, but Auburn has just not looked that good this year. Maybe they did earlier in the season, but they just can't get that offense figured out. So it's pretty bad. And like Maddy said, we have Tua, and that's all you need a lot of the times. But he's definitely going to help run up the score on this one. I say that they hold us a little bit below average, but not a lot. I got Bama 42-17.
Okay. So, mate, you picked 55. Obviously, that's not divisible by 7. So do you think we miss an extra point, or do you think we make 2 field goals?
I think we're going to miss an extra point.
It's probably more accurate than my pick.
That's how you know that she did her homework. So, all right, obviously got Bama. I'm have it 49-13. So a little bit closer than we'd like, which is kind of funny to say considering it's 49-13, and we just want to blow this team out. But that would easily cover the spread. I think Tua's going to lock down the Heisman. Quinnen's still trying to get an invite. I don't think he's going to be able to, but you never know. And Stim's going to spend more time eating dirt than he is throwing passes with our D-line. And like I said, one last time, we will all sing Dixieland Delight and go home happy with a big Roll Tide victory. All right, so that wraps up this week's episode of Dorm Squad. Make sure y'all please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, subscribe on Twitter. Leave us an iTunes rating, 5-star if you like it, please. Leave comments with anything you want to suggest that we do differently, or just so check in. And you can also subscribe on YouTube and our personal Twitters. You can find them pretty easily. And with all that, have a happy week, happy game day.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.